if I can remember my code.
We should get the new theme song when the new album comes out.
Would you? Do you want to try that?
I'll do it when I'll talk to.
We should do it with episode 100. Let's just stretch out the next. What is it? May that it comes out.
Yeah.
So
Well,
2 months.
Label would make it difficult.
I don't know. I can ask him. Okay, man. What about an advanced copy?
Asking, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Can we play a song off of your new album once a week?
We're bros. Yeah. All right. Well, let's do this. I'm gonna start it over. Obviously.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Horrible Podcast. I'm Brian.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Drew.
And look at this. Drew and I are back together in the same room again after a few...
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
A thing that people have to do when
I got it from Comedy Bang Bang, but it makes it impossible to not do that now. Or that, and it's been 1 week. How long has it been? 1 week. It's been... But yeah, so Drew and I are back in the
on the old
couch. Yeah,
You're back in the saddle again?
Right.
Is that a, can I say that?
Sure.
Is Aerosmith a reference that we can make on the podcast now? Is that...
You can make it.
You're back in the saddle again.
Speaking of Aerosmith, I just learned something. This is way off topic. I just learned something I didn't know until
we haven't even
past
got
weekend.
on to a topic yet.
That's fine. We'll get to the topics. So I've been watching the show Californication, and in the Aerosmith song Sweet Emotions, they say the rabbit done died. At one point, I just thought that was Steven Tyler talking like Steven Tyler, just making no sense whatsoever in the 70s. But I didn't realize that was an indication of someone being pregnant. Did you guys know that?
No.
Yeah. So in this show Californication, they always say like whenever someone gets pregnant, they say the rabbit done died, which is way out of touch with reality because no one says that. But at the same time, I didn't know that meant that someone was pregnant.
Are we sure that's what Steven Tyler meant, or was?
Yeah, because it was a reference to a study that was done about pregnancy where they used this, I don't know, science stuff, and then
it killed. I know what you're talking. Yeah,
it was like a scientific study,
test, like maybe the pregnancy tests.
Yes,
or something like that. Yeah,
and if the rabbit died, you were pregnant. Which that's a really that would be a really morbid way of doing that if that's the way we still kept it up. Like
that's what OBGYNs did now. They're just like, well, we have our rabbit stock's getting really low. We have a lot of pregnancies this year.
I know. Or like you go out and get drunk and just have crazy sex with some rando and then wake up and be like, oh, we have to go to the rabbit farm.
So
I didn't know that.
The idea is that is the whole thing that they injected the urine of a pregnant woman into a rabbit, and if it died, that meant
that is morbid as all get out.
I mean, shouldn't they be rewarding that rabbit for enduring the urine injection? It's more a testament to what that rabbit can do, right?
What it can endure. That's
Snopes says it's false.
Huh?
Oh,
Snopes says it's false,
but it's still something that was in the public consciousness.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Fuck you, Steven Tyler.
I know, lying.
Right? He was lying when he met you. Sorry.
That's all right. I'm glad to hear the singing back.
It's a great fucking album, Aerosmith album.
It certainly is.
And Pump, Get a Grip.
Pump's
Pump's
good.
Fucking great.
I started to lose. I mean, Get a Grip. That's where they start to lose.
Permanent Vacation.
They get too big.
Get a Grip is like the last album that I was like, I like Aerosmith, but now I'm like, did that one song Jaded with what's the girl's name who's in Jupiter Ascending?
I don't remember. Is that a thing? I didn't know that was a thing. Yeah, Jaded was fine. There was Jaded. That was 9 Lives, right? With Jaded and Hole in My Soul.
Kunis was in that video.
Falling in Love is Hard on the Knees. I actually like that song a little bit too. Pink wasn't on 9 Lives, was it?
Yeah, I think so. Wasn't it? Or was it after 9? Was that the one after 9 Lives?
Before. I think it was before that. Maybe not. Either way.
Young Lust!
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
That was a hit-filled album. If it was 9 Lives.
Remember all the Alicia Silverstone videos in the 90s
yeah,
for Aerosmith?
that was the Get a Grip album right there.
Yeah.
That was Get a Grip. That was in my wheelhouse because that's when I sort of came of age musically. So like that, I think that was 94, so I was 12, and so I was listening to that and Weezer's
Crying
Blue
Bird?
album, Crying, Amazing, and
On
Lion.
the Edge was the first song that came out on that album because I remember it was Edward Furlong. And
I read the video.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the trio of songs with Alicia Silverstone were Lying, Crying, and Amazing. Right?
Lying?
No,
No.
Crying.
See.
Wait,
Crazy. Crying,
Sorry,
and
Crazy. Sorry, I put the CR at the
But
beginning.
the first one was Crying, though, right?
Yes. I go crazy. God damn it. I want to listen to fucking
Yep,
Get a Grip
there
on
you
the
go.
way home tonight.
So wait, but I just said Crying, but then you said Crazy. So which one was first?
It's Crying.
Yeah, okay.
It's
Yeah,
Crying.
Just sing Crazy, that threw me off.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Amazing wrapped it all up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Liv Tyler and
What was
Amazing.
the other guy? Jeremy London? Was that his name? That was in that video
well,
too?
or Jason.
Was
Or
he?
one of those
It
two.
could have been. Whichever one was abducted and forced to smoke crack.
Yeah, one of them.
We've all been there, haven't we?
So, speaking of Saturday nights, thanks everyone for listening to our Smithcast. This is our Smodcast.
The Aerosmith podcast.
I think we can get to
Where we only know a little bit about Aerosmith.
Were we just trying to remember? Is that the? Was that?
Is that the name?
where the album Pump is the beginning of our knowledge of Aerosmith.
Our Smithcast, where we struggle to even remember song names. we
No,
know about 17% about whatever Aerosmith topic you bring up.
The first Aerosmith album I ever got was that it had the red and white Aerosmith emblem on the front. It was like the
That
Big
was Permanent
ones.
Vacation. Wasn't
no,
That
it
was
was like
big
it was
ones.
the greatest hits.
Big ones.
just
But it had,
big
but it
ones.
wasn't any of the hits.
Gotcha.
It wasn't like anything.
It wasn't the
was anything
70s
before-
hits. It was from their
everything before
80s.
Pump. So it was
Right,
like
yeah.
Kings and Queens come together.
Gotcha.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's that one.
Yeah, so it wasn't anything that I really. What's it? Dream On and
Sweet Emotion.
Sweet Emotion and
Yeah, I had the tape.
Last Child.
I had the tape for Pump, and I remember we used to do a yearly trip. The grade I was in, whatever grade that was at that point, I don't remember now, 5th or 6th. Did a yearly trip to Huntsville, and I remember listening to Pump on my Walkman on that. And when I traded off the guy who was sitting with me, a buddy of mine who was sitting with me had Great White, and we traded off Great White and Aerosmith tapes.
I had big ones. That's the greatest. Not the red logo one.
Big one. Yeah,
big
that was the
ones.
one,
Big
yeah.
ones is that one I had that had Whatever It Takes. Oh my God! Whenever a girl broke up with me, which was often, I listened to that song.
What It Takes?
What It Takes. Not Whatever It Takes. Yeah, What It Takes. I would listen to What It Takes a lot. Tell me what it takes to let you go.
Yeah, that was
I
a
love
good
that
jam.
song. It was.
Is that I was out of high school while all this was happening.
And I was like 8. So when I was in 4th grade and a girl broke up with me before going to the skating rink, I would sit around and listen to what it takes. I won't get to dance to that one song.
Yeah.
That memories, man. Speaking of 1995,
Yeah,
There you go. I think
man.
that's
boom,
the
segue.
we're here for this.
Hey, tonight's episode we're talking about the movie Mockingbird.
And it's about the girl who is in the arena killing other kids her age.
May the odds not be in my favors.
Sorry, I had it on our logo for that, so you can do the sig-
Oh man,
Aw,
fuck it. I'm not
sorry.
doing it again.
Oh, okay. So yeah, Mockingbird, which is about this girl. I'm just kidding.
No.
That's
Mockingbird.
Mockingjay.
Yeah, Mockingbird.
Brian Bertino.
Brian Boitano's second
Yes.
film.
I think that
dude.
Yes.
I think the context for this film is really important, like why we chose it, because it's not. I mean, I think it's like a 4.3 on IMDb. So we didn't choose it to shit on it. Like we do have a context for it. And Drew, you have a lot of stake. I don't want to call you out, but you are like you were way into Brian Bertino's. I keep wanting to say Brian Boitano now.
No,
First,
it's
I think
all-
we all were, but I think you especially had a kinship with his first film. So you want to talk about like why we chose Mockingbird and like its relationship to our whatever with horror movies?
Well, yeah, I mean, the 2 words. We chose Mockingbird because of The Strangers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really it. I mean, there's still not been any. There have been hipper and there have been more well-received horror movies that have come out in the past several years that might still be, of all the first-run things that I've seen in theaters, because I didn't get, obviously too young, didn't get to experience any of the, the other stuff that we really love. I've seen them in theaters, but not first-run. That might be the greatest, like,
yeah.
I don't know if I want to call it slasher, but it's kind of like next generation kind of slasherish kind of stuff. It might be the best horror film I've gotten to see in theaters personally. That I've just everything about it. It encapsulated everything that I want in a scary movie like that, and I got to see it in theaters, and I knew what I was expecting, but I didn't expect it to be as good as it was.
I know you and I went sort of like, there's this new horror movie, wwhatever, who cares? It's probably going to be garbage because honestly, the trailer for The Strangers was like milquetoast, like,
but
yeah, like who cares?
They saw it, but around there we'd gotten. Gosh, what were some of the crappy things that had come out around it?
Hostel. I don't know.
The year, and there's just been some not great things around it, and it's like it was coming out the same night that Sex and the City came out.
Yep, I remember that. It was, I think this movie predates a lot of the home invasion films that followed. Like home invasion movies became pretty big after this, and I think this predates like Taken and God, that's the only one I can think of right now. But
The Purge for one is the big one that looks very Strangers-esque always.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, and
Strangers-esque.
Yeah, seriously.
Also, to tie into our Aerosmith conversation, Liv Tyler in The Strangers.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you
go. So I think I've never had, speaking of like going to the theater for a movie, I've never had an audience experience quite like The Strangers.
Exactly. Yeah.
You and I went together to see it, and it
was
in
a packed theater,
a small room, packed theater, and the reactions from the crowd are. It's almost like a movie like reaction to movies. Like you never see that. Or
like the night vision previews that you always show of like something for Paranormal Activity where everybody's like
there was one moment in The Strangers that I will never ever ever forget. And there's a scene where either Liv Tyler or the guy, was it Scott Speedman? Who was the
it was.
Mm-hmm.
Try to leave and get in the car, and then one of the strangers reaches forward and touches the back of his neck, and the scream from the girl sitting like diagonally in front of us was something it was the most blood-curdling scream I have ever heard in my life. I thought someone was getting stabbed. Yeah. Like it was that terrifying. So yeah. That movie really is something special. And I don't know how other horror fans or podcasts feel about it, but for me that movie was absolutely 100% terrifying.
I mean, it's the new high water mark for me. Like that's what everything else is judged by at this point. I'm always looking for, it's all that compared to The Strangers at this point. I mean, we're talking about, I was having to look to make sure the year. So it's 2008 at that point. And then
The Strangers?
Yeah.
God, that doesn't seem that, it seems like it's been out longer than that.
I thought it had too.
Yeah.
But then that's what then makes me, that's what then made Mockingbird so exciting when we finally got it though, is we've been waiting for what is Brian Bertino going to do next.
Yeah.
And we've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and then it finally came out, and it kind of came out anticlimactically. It didn't get a big release. It ended up being VOD, and then
it just kind of went away.
Yeah, and then it went to Netflix, and then
that's where it is. It will be
it's been on the shelf since 2012, I think.
Weird.
That was weird because I don't understand why. Well, who's to say what Hollywood's doing? So
I think it was an issue, like kind of like with Sin City 2, where you're like, oh man, I really liked Sin City. That movie was crazy good. But if you wait 10 years to do the sequel to that movie that I really liked 10 years ago, then it will pay dividends of a much slower quality. And I think this is part of it. Like, The Strangers got... Also, I think in a mass market, most people probably don't... And he didn't have a lot of like cultural cachet to begin with. Or cash. Would you say cash? And that's... A lot of people say cash. C-A-C-H-E.
Heard it both ways.
Yeah, I would say cachet there.
Yeah, because it sounds better than to say cultural cash.
It just sounds like you're talking about money.
That's right. So anyway, yeah, I think that's it, and it's a weird movie, and it's hard to market because it's not. I mean, I don't know.
But with all the found footage stuff that has come out recently, it doesn't seem like it would be that hard to market.
Yeah,
I mean, because technically it is a found footage film. Yeah, but not. I mean, once the movie starts, you realize it's done with great intent as to what's being made. So, I don't know why it wasn't released in that same slew of found footage stuff.
Well, I think watching it, you can see why it's much more experimental. I mean, he's much more interested in form in this than he is at telling a narrative, really, a strict narrative. I mean, it's more about what can I do with found footage than making the best movie I can make in the found footage genre. Is more, I think, what can I do in this subgenre, and that almost ends up being one of its weaknesses, though, is it comes off more as a
testament to something,
or just as almost too experimental. Yeah, I think more than just telling this found footage story that we're used to, which is nice. We don't, and because we're not having to spend 30 minutes, 45 minutes sitting there seeing the home footage to get to the stuff to give us. It doesn't have to just give us character prior to that.
No, it starts off with that assault on Precinct 13, kid getting shot.
That was horrifying. I mean,
that was horrifying. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, this movie doesn't care much about story. The story is just there for us to see these scares. That it seems like this was a scare us first kind of movie. Like, what is some weird? It's almost like when I was in college, and one of our final projects was to make a short film using these items that were randomly picked out of a hat. Like, that was it. Like, you had to incorporate these into your film, and it's almost like someone dared Brian Bertino. Like, can you make red balloons and clowns and that one
VHS cameras?
Yeah, VHS cameras and really old classical music scary. And the answer is yes.
They actually asked what would Brian Bertino do.
They did. What would you do, Brian Bertino?
Well, yeah. I wish I could remember the lyrics to that song because I would quote them right now. So I don't know, man. Let's talk a little bit about, now that we talked about where it comes from, what were your overall impressions of the movie, Drew? Since you watched it once already and was kind of lukewarm on it, so I kind of want to hear what your thoughts are on Mockingbird, the due watch.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I watched it at Halloween, and I watched a couple of things, and I think that's also when I watched The Babadook as well. Mm-hmm. And I was, so there's a lot of stuff I was really excited about watching, but Mockingbird was really high on my list of things to watch. And I think that's ended up with being what the problem was watching it. Is its biggest weakness is always and forever going to be it's not the strangers, and that's what it does have to combat. And it's not even like, The Fog isn't Halloween.
Right.
But The Fog still satisfied in its own right. And that was the thing on its own originally with this desire of, finally getting a second Brian Bertino film. It didn't fulfill whatever I needed it to in that initial viewing. And when I watched it again the other day, I could not remember almost anything that happened. When it happened, I'm like, yeah, that's what happened here. I'd forgotten about that. Oh yeah, that's it. Like, every time it happened, I'd finally remember, but I'd be like, I couldn't remember what was coming. It just didn't stick with me at all. Mm-hmm. I liked it better the second time, but again, because I had no expectations now. In fact, I was just hoping I would like it more. And now I did take it more for what it was, which it felt like a test or an experiment, or what can I do with this? And then watching some guy who I like the way he does stuff, seeing what he can do, what he can get away with. And that was entertaining. I still don't think it works.
Yeah. I think
I like it. I liked it better now. Yes.
I came to it from a different sort of angle because I just happened to put it on. I was like, I haven't seen this yet. I'm just going to put this on while I do some work at home. And it was late at night, and I was just in my kitchen, and there are windows. I almost said windows. There are windows all around, and I just almost thought I could see someone through the window. Like, I just felt this creeping sense of if this really happened, it would be terrifying. And that just sort of carried me through the movie. And it was just like a Wednesday night, just a random night during the week. And so it just really pulled me in. And I'd only planned on watching like 20 minutes of it while I did some work, but I ended up watching the entire movie because I was so sort of pulled in by the scares and the setup for it. And I was interested in one of the three sort of divergent and then I guess convergent plot lines because I wanted to see where it would go because it did not fit with the other two. And I wanted to see what was going to happen.
This film,
Leonard.
Yeah.
This film, The Strangers, and I guess let's just go ahead and say pretty much every horror film has made me realize that if I was to ever build my own house, there would be no windows on the first floor.
God, that one house we were looking at buying had all those windows, and all I could think about was The Strangers or something.
Or like
just looking outside every night when we're watching TV and looking outside, and there's someone standing on your front lawn, like holding balloons or something.
Yeah, you know, we have that giant bay window at our house, and it's just, I guess it's not technically a bay window, but every night when I turn the lights out to go back to bed, I have to walk by that. And every night I think, like, all it would take is just me seeing someone standing under the street light for me to just completely lose my mind.
I almost want to drive up to Nashville and just wait at Tyler's house just for that one moment.
Well, I like the reverse of that. My favorite imagined scary shot when I was a teenager was driving away from my house. The house that I grew up in had a lot of windows, especially one right up front. And so what I always imagine is every afternoon when I drove away, I'm driving away and the camera pulls back and shows someone standing in the house that it was not known to have been there. That's what I imagined every time I left. And that's the one I think of more than me being inside, seeing people outside, is me having left and the person is there. And then, everyone knows that's where I've got to eventually come back to, and they're there, but I don't know it.
Everybody knows. That's the Leonard Cohen song. I had a situation like that today, actually. And just for context, we are snowed in Nashville, so no one's supposed to be going anywhere. And you're supposed to just kind of stay in your house because people have died. Yeah.
Don't leave your house.
Today I was at home, and so was Kate. And we were just kind of hanging out. And then I heard a door open and was like, what is that? And I went to the front of the house. And the front door was wide open, and I looked out, and there was a black minivan in our driveway. Yeah.
Movie.
And we were supposed to get our refrigerator fixed, so I thought it was the refrigerator people. So I went back, and Kate was already like, what's going on? And she was looking out the window. I was like, oh, there are people outside. They're going to come work on the fridge. And she looked outside, and there was no one in this minivan. And in this sequence of events, the door was open, no one in it. We walked around the house, saw no one, and we looked. There are dealer tags on the back of the van. So brand new car, brand new minivan. We look in, it's black, all black interior. There is nothing in it. It is a CarMax car. So there is, like, someone has just purchased it. There is nothing in it. There is no license. There is no registration. There is no insurance card. And no one is there. I don't see any tracks leaving because it snowed again this morning. I saw no tracks leaving the minivan. And so we have no idea what's going on.
Is it still there?
It's not. It's gone now. We figured it out, but it took us a while, and we really freaked out because that's not, especially on a snow day in the middle of the day, you think like, this is some messed up shit. Like, somebody might be because we thought
this sounds like the beginning of old person disease.
You think?
What's going on out here?
What's on my lawn? Well, as it turns out, it was just a family. Like, the mom had fishtailed in the road and was like, I'm just going to pull over right here. But no one left a note. No one knocked on the door. No one was like, hey, whatever.
Was this in your driveway?
This was in our driveway, like right in front of our house.
Jesus.
I know. And the door was open. Like, those two things combined, like brand new car abandoned by its owners, no note, and the door wide open. We were like, there's something really terrifying about that. So, as it turns out, it was just like some woman who can't drive. And,
a similar story to that is I was in my rented house one time. It's the last house on the left, actually. And my roommates weren't home. I knew they weren't home. I was reading for a class, and I'm laying out on the couch, and I hear, and like the squeaky door opening in the back of the house, and I'm like,
I almost wanted Thriller to start just then.
fucking shit, there's no one here. What the fuck is that? I took off out front, and I'm standing out front when one of my roommates shows up. He's like, "What are you doing out here?" He's like, "I was sitting inside, and a door opened inside. I have no idea what's going on. I'm not going back in." And then so we went back in together, and turned out the medicine cabinet, the magnet lost, the glue part had lost, and so the magnet was staying here, and the rest of the medicine cabinet just slowly creaked open. But it sounded like the creepiest slow door opening. I was like, someone's been waiting in this house. I don't know why, but waiting in this house for this long, and now they're coming out.
It's to murder you. That's why they were there. Brian, do you have any like home invasion stories or like break-in stories?
Yes.
Okay. Could you
Yeah,
you just went, okay.
It's a real one.
Do you have a real one? Do you not want to talk about it? Is that
No, it's too much. No, I'm just kidding. Mine, when I was younger, and I thought that this was younger when my mind was still in overdrive, and I was a latchkey kid, so my parents weren't home when I got home from school. I was coming home, and I thought one of my parents' closets had a window in it, and looking up at the house, 2-story house, I thought I saw the face of Satan in the window. I freaked out, of course, like all kids do, and I called the neighbor. I went to the neighbor's house and called 911. And then my friends came over, and we convinced ourselves to go through the house, room by room, to clear it. And so one of them had a bat, and we're going through the room, and he and I both come around separate corners at the same time to find my grandma on the phone. Apparently, she'd come over, worried because I hadn't called since I got home from school. He has the bat back, like he's going to swing. I was like, no, it's my grandma. It's my grandma.
Did you ever tell your grandmother she looks like the devil?
No, apparently it was just a jacket in the closet that you could see from the street. It looked like Satan's face, or what I imagine Satan's face would look like. Horns, sharp teeth, pitchfork.
One last story. This didn't happen to me, but a friend of mine who lives in Nashville was going to a house party and went into the apartment. She had to pee really bad, so she went into the apartment and went directly into the bathroom and said, like, hey, how's it going? And like halfway through her pee, had someone kick the door and ask her who the fuck she was and what the fuck she was doing in there. She had gone into the wrong apartment. She had gone into like 1408, and she should have gone into 1308. And this guy...
Hang on. Was this the loud person from your book release?
No. This was when he was in Nashville, and like
there's that.
There was that Nashville.
Huh? Oh no, this is different. No, this is totally different. But yeah, he had a gun and was like, "Who? You need to get out of here." She was like, "Oh no, I know so and so. So this is so and so's party." He's like, "No, this isn't so and so's party. You need to get the hell out of my house." She had gone into the wrong house and peed in someone's bathroom without knowing who the hell it was.
I do like that you chose the room 1408, like the Stephen King.
I know
story.
that was the first one that popped into my head. All right, so the basic plot of Mockingbird is that
5 minutes later, Mockingbird.
There are 3 sort of disparate plot lines that are tied together by this one thing, which is that it's the mid-90s, and these 3 people think they have won a contest, which is something I guess people naively believed in the 90s. And so they think that they've won a contest which has afforded them this camera, video, like giant video cameras. So they're naturally filming everything, and it's cute at first, but then everything starts getting terrifying as they receive continued notes from the people, and then they start to break in. Like, it becomes increasingly sinister.
Which are all the weak parts, are that.
I don't know. I liked that stuff. I think that's...
It's not the way it's done. It's the underlying logic of that is all flawed. And that's where my problems come in with it. I mean, there's just no way, like, the way they're delivering these things, I don't know. It becomes a question. It became more of a question in my mind of how was all this going on, concurrently and as quickly and as stealthily as it is. It became more of a liability. I thought I liked the idea of it, but its execution became a liability.
Well, the only thing that really, I mean, I enjoyed that part, but when we get the reveal at the end as who's to doing this, then it put a lot of those things into my mind, like well, how the fuck would they do that?
Right.
Yeah, I think that the final scene is really what makes all this other stuff problematic, because I'm okay with sort of like a movie where, oh no, how does this happen? I just kind of like the idea that it is happening and these people are buying into it. And I love just the sort of naivete with which all of these people go about their business. Like they think naturally, oh, this is my shot. Like I've finally won a thing. And like that's all it takes for them to move forward. It reminds me a lot of Requiem for a Dream. Like this idea that I won a contest. I'm going to end up on a TV show. Like I think that's sort of like naive thing. Is what I like about it.
Dress.
So I just, I bought into it because I think I just chose to. I think I was just, and it wasn't that I just turned my brain off, but I also thought like, I'm going to see where this movie goes, because it doesn't give you a big setup. It's not like most found footage movies in that it's like, hey, we bought this house and someone died here. Like it's not that, or like, hey, so we found this Ouija board, which is half of the horror movies that start this way, is like, so we have this thing that happened, this one is just, here are these cameras and here are these instructions, go. And I almost wish they had ended with the last scene before they reveal, like before the reveal.
I agree with you on that. Yeah, it should when yes, the I don't know if should we ruin it.
Not yet.
Ruin it yet. No, but should we spoil it? I don't say
if
ruin
even
it
at all, I don't know. With that one, that might be a question. Do we even let's move forward without for now.
Let's see how far we can go without spoiling it.
Sure. Rosebud was the
one reveal.
Rosebud was the sled.
The rest of the stuff is fine. I mean, what happens, but without that one reveal.
I do like there were a couple of things that pulled me out. And one of them was the fact that when that guy was told to shave,
Leonard?
he just started shaving.
He had a really good beard too.
And I was like, who the fuck just shaves over their floor?
Oh, in the kitchen.
Yeah, I was like, mm-mm.
Because did you not? I mean, that was the one thing I did like. I mean, the guy was. There were lots of other issues going on with Leonard. Leonard wasn't quite all there, and
no,
but I
liked that about
established. Like, yeah, you were very sympathetic to Leonard. Like, you felt like, oh man, it's not going to end up well for Leonard.
Yeah, where this is going.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who dresses like a clown, I immediately think they're going to get killed.
No,
be a molester.
Here's the thing I kind of wish had been the thing. I liked the contest idea as the random way that whoever these killers were choosing to do it, because that's what I do like about both Bertino's movies at this point is there isn't a reason.
Yeah.
And I like that. Like The Strangers doesn't try and wrap it up and explain why. They just chose them.
You were there. You were home.
And I like what I liked, and it doesn't give like all that big setup. Yes, they're coming from a wedding and their marriage is in dire straits, but that's not the setup for why they're has nothing to do with anything else. That's just giving us them. I liked this. I really almost wish that this had been how they chose these people, almost like the literal idea of randomly drawing them from a box. Like they set up a box in the mall that says, hey, sign up and you win this, and then they just go and pull out names, and that's who their victims are.
How can we manipulate these people? Yeah. I mean, I think
which I think is a great, which I think agreeing with what you said, the Bertino's idea of like, there is no rhyme or reason to the stuff that happens. It just happens.
Yeah.
You are just chosen.
Your house isn't built over a graveyard.
Yes.
Right. There's just this is just who we decided to choose.
You were home.
You were home. This is what happens.
It definitely has a more nihilistic view of the world, and like a cynical view that nothing happens for a reason. Everything is random. And I definitely think that in a horror movie, that's what I kind of enjoy, especially when I think that the two storylines that are not Leonard's, the two more serious storylines, the husband and wife I liked more. I thought that had more setup, whereas the girls who was alone, I can't remember her name actually. She let's call her Diane. Her storyline I thought like lacked any sort of substance, and she doesn't really have that much of a like stake at what's going on in the film.
She had nothing to lose, really.
Yeah,
just her. But that's it. But that's all. I mean, that's all anyone has in these things. But the parents had more. The couple, the husband and wife had more. They had each other. They had the kids. Yeah, I agree.
But I do like I do like the scares that are used on her more than the couple's scares.
It's the best one.
Like the scene with where I was really freaked out when she looked through the window and saw what you think is a person, but is actually a mannequin.
Yeah, I like
dressed
that.
up and sitting in a chair. Like, I thought that was pretty terrifying. And also the garage full of red balloons. I think 99 of them, Brian, if I counted correctly.
99, they love balloons.
High School Story, we totally used that setup with the dummy in the wheelchair. So we did use the real person. Totally sat out one night. We had my dad.
I remember this story vividly.
We had a wheelchair in the garage.
Let me tell it. Hang on.
Okay.
Shut up, Brian.
We had a wheelchair in the garage that we had some friends over one night. We just decided we were bored. It's a small town. And so we took it and we set it up under a street light on the busy main road, my neighborhood. And I sat in it with this rictus grin and just in a car drive by, I would like slowly raise my hand like to wave and just be sitting there. I also think I sat on my legs with my lower legs under me. So it looked like I also didn't have lower legs. And we did that for a while. Several cars would slowly drive by, and then we talked about other things we could do. I think one time we turned it over and had me like splayed out around it. But then finally someone came up and told us the cops were down at Spectrum convenience store down the road and had just gotten a call and were on their way, and so we took off.
The cruel japes that young people play.
I like it.
It's pretty fun though.
In my mind, I always have about Drew. That's like he describes the most fiendish he's ever been, and I'm like, man, oh man.
Oh, we had set up. We were going to totally terrorize these people that had gone out to the lake and not invited us one time. We went so far as to make we got baby dolls that we'd gotten. I think we maybe took them from someone's little sister, and we crucified them and we made signs and all these awful horror movie, occult horror movies on them, and then we stashed them in this little old barn on my grandparents' land and never got a chance to then go back and use them. So I just like to think who finally found those when they cleaned out that barn.
Wouldn't that be funny if all satanic investigations were all people's jokes that they just never got to explain,
like crop circles?
They're like, oh fuck, shit.
There's a joke.
Yeah. That I don't think I have any stories like that. I'll have to leave it with my tale of a near break-in or not. It actually wasn't even close.
And
proud to actually
we
have that
raised
that
hell
story
in
at
high
least.
school.
So yeah,
I'm just glad that there's. I'm sure all of us are, but that the internet wasn't around when I was in high school. Oh my god!
But I always wish it was. We could have filmed all this shit, man. We could have got some viral shit out of this.
We did film an exploit once, and then got really scared, so we erased the tape. Shannon and I still dream about that tape and how amazing it would be to this day.
What'd you do?
I'm not gonna get into that.
I'm just embarrassed by my 15-year-old self. So I'm glad that very little footage of that exists.
I just know that the thing that we did film, I just remember that was probably the hardest I've ever laughed in my life. I'm not going to go into detail. I'll just let you guys think
We'll
about it.
talk about it off camera.
We can talk about it off camera. I'm pretty sure I've told you guys this before.
I'm sure you have. I don't remember it though.
Anyway.
Brian got into a lot of trouble.
Yeah. So as far as going back to the plot lines, the girls, the scares were better, but the couples they had more of a stake in what was going on.
By the way,
the cross section of what actually happens between them and Leonard's plot line actually makes a lot of sense, and I loved the moment where they take a photograph out of a box and it's Leonard unknowingly in a picture with their kids like that.
Yes.
That is the
skating rink. They had it all set up. Yeah.
That's one of the greatest setups for sort of at that moment I was assured that I knew what was going to happen. And so the rest of the movie became about me dreading the end of that movie. And I think that's why Mockingbird really works for me, is that it's about the inevitable happening, knowing that it's happening, and not being able to do anything about it because Leonard is oblivious. It's like the old Hitchcock idea of suspense. Horror is if people are playing cards at a table and the table explodes, but suspense is when they show you the bomb under the table right before it happens. And so that's what makes this movie suspenseful to me, is not the scares in and of themselves, but the inevitability of the ending.
I like to think you got that wrong, though. Horror is people are playing cards at a table and a cat jumps out. Someone stabs someone from the other direction.
That's a good point. I think Hitchcock probably helped to invent that.
Yeah.
But but no, yeah. The dichotomy of
Ooh. I just like that word.
The couple and then the single woman who are just scared out of their minds about what's happening, and Leonard, who is just happy,
He's out of his mind.
and out of his mind with joy about what's going on.
Poor Leonard.
It just and it kind of makes it makes it tragic at the end that he's the one that pays technically pays the ultimate price.
Dude, they all do.
They all pay the ultimate price.
Yeah, like I'm thinking like at the end we need to talk about how the like media and cops sort out this story. But yeah, Leonard, I mean, I think it's why I laughed so hard at Leonard's jokes, because I thought like I can't save his life, but at least I can laugh at his jokes.
Were they jokes though, or I mean, I don't.
The madness.
I feel we're laughing at Leonard though. That's the only thing I kind of have with that character. So I feel like it is a thing where we're laughing at. I still thought it was entertaining. I wasn't
bad
bothered by any of it. But I mean, this idea he is of a mindset that he thinks that clown makeup is going to get him girls.
Yeah,
we all know that that's just going to get you a straight up pedophilia charge.
Yeah. When you show up at a skating rink, say, "I just need to take pictures."
Oh my God!
Kids.
I kept thinking that he's gonna get his ass kicked so bad. That's like one of his things. But they were like, "Oh, I guess this makes sense."
He seemed pretty. I agree with you, Drew, but I also think he was like he had some amount of self-awareness, and so that's why I felt comfortable. Yeah, I would say that. Like,
you're self-aware at all
at the point where he deconstructs his life, where he's like, I'm not a risk taker. He's like, I take a risk with my diet. Like that's pretty self-aware. And like talking about, he's like, I would say that I don't do things like this a lot. The three things I do are get yelled at by my mom, something, and then masturbate a lot. I think that like that shows a certain amount of self-awareness that
like he knew he was a loser.
He's not the smartest guy in the world, but he's also not like only worthy of this like pitiable shake of the head.
But see, that's the thing. I think the character's poorly written then at this point, thinking back on it, because I think that ends up being the issue with him is exactly that. Like I think he's trying to write two different characters, because I don't think the guy that you're describing and trying to turn him into here is the guy that thinks that clown makeup's going to get him girl, that all of this is going to work. Like that's the thing. I think I liked Leonard. I loved those sequences a lot.
Yeah.
And now thinking back on him, listening to what y'all are saying, because I didn't have him self-aware at all, and I was more comfortable with him, at least as a character, even if I felt bad at times laughing at him, which I felt I was doing more than laughing with him. But now I just think he's two different characters at that point, and we're trying to at least turn him into. I don't think he could say the things you guys are saying he said and still be absolutely unself-aware of what he's doing.
Do you guys watch Broad City?
Of a guy.
Have you watched Broad City?
No, I know of it, but I've not watched it.
So there's a character in Broad City. The actor's name is John Gimberling, I think is how you pronounce his name. He's also on a show called Marry Me with Ken Marino. Yeah. But that's who Leonard reminded me of. He was just this lovable kind of. He knows he's not. Yeah, like what we were talking about. He knows he is probably the butt of a lot of people's jokes,
right,
and stuff like that. But this is just what the card he's been dealt. Like he said in the thing, he's like, I'm having a little financial issues right now. I have to live with my mom, kind of thing.
But you realize that he's like trying to push away the fact that he's trying to like explain away the fact that it's not temporary. It just seems like he lives with his mother,
right?
Yeah. But he also tries to explain that he also isn't self-aware enough to realize that he got fired from a job washing cars because he couldn't wash cars well.
Well, I think
he was doing his best, but he's a pretty shitty.
Yeah,
job of it. Obviously,
I wouldn't say that. Like,
what was the comment that got made? It's like, you're not good.
No, you don't work hard. You work hard enough, or something like that.
Story of my life, guys.
No, I would give Brian Bertino a little bit more credit with like he's definitely not a Tom Moon. Like I think he's just someone who is like if you look at like his living situation, he's someone who's down on his luck and who's just like he kind of has like a neckbeardy sort of like basement dwelling thing about him. But I don't think he's like has a very low IQ at the same point. Like I just think maybe he has a little like he's a little off as far as like what his ideas are. I won't say like he's not a Kevin Williamson character in which he is like he's not that self-aware, but he is self-aware enough to know like I'm just kind of a dumpy schlub. Like he's like I think he just thinks that things like clown makeup are like that's something that he gets excited about. Like a lot of dudes get excited, I think, about monkeys, and I'm not like like I'm never the guy who's like, yeah, we got a monkey. This is the best thing. I'm always like, I don't want a monkey around me. I don't think that's cool. So I looked at his clown makeup as my monkey. I looked at his clown makeup as my monkey.
Touch my monkey?
Yeah, now I'm just like concerned about how many monkey situations Tyler's been put in.
Whenever you see a movie, people are like, "Oh my god, there's a monkey, that's awesome," or "There's an ape, that's great." And I'm never like that. I'm always like, I don't want this to be a plot of my movie. Like Jay and Silent Bob, take it back.
On Any Which Way But Loose this weekend.
There's
and Every Which Way But Loose and
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
The sequel is something similar to that. Though.
I can't remember.
There's a plot line in Californication that involves a monkey. There is Ross from Friends has a monkey for us like 2 seasons. There's like what
Leonard is Leonard is the monkey.
I know that there are more.
No, I understand what you're saying. I completely understand what you're saying.
Like I just think that's a part of like that is a facet of that character is that he just like the same person would think like dressing like if you change clown to like dressing like a wizard, I would put him in like he would be at home in Reno 911 with Patton Oswalt's gang of like Dungeons and Dragons guys. Like they would think like, yeah, this will get us girls. Like dressing like wizards is cool. They're not like they're a little off, but they're not like totally unself-aware. Maybe self-aware is the wrong descriptor to use with that guy, but he's not like a dullard. He seems to have like charisma.
On Deconstructing Leonard.
Any Which Way You Can.
That's the sequel?
Yeah.
What is?
Every Which Way But Loose.
I was combining them.
You can.
I was combining them.
Yeah.
Awkward titles. Those are awkward. Yeah.
Also awkward movies.
Thank you, Clyde.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's like, what person in there, like, all three of us, if anybody was to come to us and say, hey, we want you to put on this clown makeup, we'd be like, no, I'm not fucking putting on clown makeup.
Or I would, but I'm not going to sit there and say, now I'm going to get a girl. That's the thing that's just so, like
no, I would just flat out refuse a clown makeup.
It's like I'm wanting them, like, if he'd been doing it to get the money, like, completely get money and made that his angle, I would have been fine with it. It's this idea that he has this weird idea that also this is what's going to get him women. That was the one.
Guys,
I think that one. I think that taking that one, like extrapolating that one line out though, because for the rest of the movie, he kind of goes like, I don't really want to do this. Like he's like, I want the money, yes. However, I am because he's not like when he goes into the women's restroom, he's not like, yeah, I'll do anything for the money, hooray. He's like, I don't want to know what. He's like, I just imagine women go in there to sit on couches or like I imagine women go in there to gossip and do cocaine. Like,
guys, can I tell you that women's restrooms they never sit on the couch. They can barely make it to a stall.
No, I know what you mean, but I'm going to borrow a word from Brian. I think there are lines, or I'm going to borrow a term, and this might get me in trouble. But
not with me.
I think Leonard becomes a problematic character in our discussion now because I think there are lines that make Leonard seem like you've said dullard that make him seem like he is retarded.
Oh, that's the word that I use.
And then there are times where there are things that Leonard's doing and saying and acting that do not. And I think that's what becomes and makes him a problematic character because it feels like I can't get quite a grip on what he is because because it doesn't seem like he is fully aware of what he's doing. Like he's just doing it to win. I get that.
Yeah.
But then he says some things and does some things that make him seem like he is very understanding what he's doing. Like the whole women in the restroom. Like I read that completely differently.
Yeah.
Read that as the sign of someone with a low IQ who sits there and is trying to erase away the fact that yes, women shit and they fart and they pee just like normal people.
I don't. Yeah, I think you and I just read that character completely differently, and I read it as like he's just someone who doesn't get a lot of he doesn't have a lot of experience with girls and has like almost malformed opinions about the world, but not like I mean that's a joke that a lot of people make. Like I don't think that shows like, oh, this guy is intellectually disabled in any way. Like I would just say that like he has very like shallow opinions of things. Like I'm thinking of, I have a couple friends I went to high school with who I could see making poor choices like this, but who weren't like on the low scale of IQ. Like, so I don't know. I don't know that like this needs to be the whole of the conversation, but
this was 1995. The clowns were viewed a little differently back then. Yeah. I mean, that was
before capturing the Freedmen,
right? No, it was that had happened.
Well, just before the movie, no one knew about it. Yeah, no one knew about it.
But they were, John Wayne Gacy was still fresh in everybody's mind.
Yeah.
So.
Everyone still knew Pennywise,
right? So clowns. So we're talking about 1995 clowns.
So as far as that goes, I think like it still is sad because we see the end coming. Like he's like most of what is going on with him is that each time he is successful, he becomes happier because he realizes like, oh, this is paying off. This isn't just. And he also, I mean, he has a reticence throughout the entire movie because even at the end, after he's had these things where like, oh, it's obviously paying off, like everything has gone well, even if he is being sort of like taken advantage of on screen. Like getting kicked in the nuts. Even at the end, he's like, I hope you're not making fun of me. Like he's still, because who knows with this sort of thing, like what's going on? Like, what are you, I mean, this predates like the rise of Survivor and like self-humiliating.
Or Jackass
even. So it feels like, what is this about? Like, is this real? Because I mean, all of these real things have happened. Like he got a camera and he's getting all of these notes and they are leading him to other places. So
if you had received a camera on your front porch
that was running that you couldn't cut off,
yeah, I think I would have had a different kind of reaction. And you know what's funny too is that even before like sex tapes and stuff like that, the couple were like, "Oh, well, maybe we should film something else."
That's because when is this made though? Like it's still being made. It's sure it's 1995, but it's being made through the lens of.
No, yeah, but at that point, it's like even with all that technology, like I have never thought, you know what I'd like to see? Me having sex with someone.
Yeah.
but that's what I'm arguing. I mean, I think that's where the movie shows when it was made versus when it's set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that is the first place they jump because that's where all these people have gone now. And I mean at that point, would someone have jumped to that as a first conclusion? Maybe.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe they would have, but it's hard not to say they would have or to not have them do that because of where we are now.
And the cameras, they don't have a tape in them. They are just live feed.
That's also a problematic thing. Like in 1995, they wouldn't have had hard drives, but you kind of have to explain that away. Like,
and they had a transmitter, and he knew it because of the red light. Which I didn't get that way. He's like, it's a transmitter, that red light. No, that red light means it's recording. It's
and the transmitter. I mean, we're talking about 1995
what's it going over?
Transmitters. Yeah.
There's no Wi-Fi. What is it?
Which kind of, when we get the end sequence, that you got to say like, oh, what the fuck?
I like the end for its shock value. I hate it for trying to explain everything. It's like the opposite of the Sixth Sense, where the Sixth Sense when it's all over and you go back and think about all the scenes, it's like, oh, and where this one you get to the end and you get the reveal and you're like, oh, and then you start,
wait,
what?
Yeah, I don't agree with this at all.
It's like, how did any of that happen?
But I do think
they would have left it. I think that if the end would have been left open, which who knows?
That's kind of what I like.
Who knows what Bertino had originally planned, and then what happened along the way.
Yeah.
But
it feels tacked on.
Universal released, but I don't know. The Blumhouse is Blumhouse big for doing recuts and forcing it on them.
Their German subsidiary Blumhouse is pretty.
They make they're a house of Blue
Germans.
I don't know, like I as far as filming stuff, I think that Bertino introduces the next step in the progression quickly enough. Like they film, and I really like Tom, the dad. I like his early stuff, like him walking around. Like what's
he been in?
He's been in a lot of stuff. I just can't. He was in Justified. That's the thing that I remember him from mostly.
That's what I
remembers him.
That's what I reminded Tyler of last night. Tyler's like, I know this guy from somewhere. I was like, oh, he was in Justified.
Yeah, he's been in several. You're right. That's the thing. So I like that a found footage movie, seeing someone that's familiar, because it reminds me it's a movie as opposed to when they have all the unfamiliar people.
Yeah.
Knowns.
His thing, like in the beginning, I was sort of brought in because I liked his approach to. He went through the house and said all of these things like. Here's where I do all my kids' homework, and yet they still get B's on it. What does that say about me?
The characters are great. Yeah. I like the actors. I like the wife.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
I think they introduce enough of the stuff. It's introduced early enough in. It's not like we don't have days. We have maybe an hour before we get like.
And that's fine.
I know. Like we get and then you get the reveal of like, holy shit, what is this video? Like, what is this thing? Yeah. Because it's terrifying. Like that's the cold opening of that. And then going into like, here are these cameras. And then these sort of like weird, jaunty, like Kevin Smith style cards in between where it's like the man, the woman, the surprise. Like all of that is so weird, but I like it.
It was much more Haneke. And I feel like that's where he really got a lot of this from. It's a very Michael Haneke movie. It's like his funny games. Yeah, this is like Bertino's Funny Games, which is Haneke making that home invasion movie that's not quite the sleazy home invasion movie, but just because it was made by Michael Haneke.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would have been a sleazy, home invasion movie. And I feel this was Bertino's version of that. That's how I felt the cards, the interstitials said to me. They said. So they had kind of I don't want to say an intellectual quality about them, but some of the things they said made it seem like, they had this sort of, this aware, at least, knowledgeableness about them.
And I think, that's kind of sort of a theme of our conversation, right? Is that it's kind of knowing, but not. Like, I do think it has this sort of like forced jaunty nature in between it because it is like it demeans the characters in a way that made me really uncomfortable in a good way. Because it says like it is almost emotionally detached from what it is doing to the characters, and I really was like drawn into that because it's all of these things are happening and it doesn't seem to be really emotionally invested in them because it will have like that interstitial card that's like this bright blue font where it's like, here's the next thing and here's the next thing. And
very America, red, white, and blue.
Yeah. So it's very like it's arch in a way, like here I'm doing this for a reason, but it's also really compelling because I was like, no other movies breaking the fiction to tell you this except this movie. And that's what I really dig about it. It's like, oh, this is a fourth wall.
Like, it feels like this movie should have been Bertino's film before The Strangers.
Yeah. It feels like more your student film.
Yeah, it definitely does. Like he may have had this idea before The Strangers, but after The Strangers, you really had to like fucking bring your A game from that movie. No. Nothing would have been as good as The Strangers.
It felt like if you'd seen Halloween and then seen Dark Star.
Yeah.
Right.
Which both are, I enjoy watching them both, but I'm okay knowing Dark Star came before Halloween. If I knew it came afterwards, I probably would have been like, really? That's where you're going after this? Like, I agree. I like that might be the best. I like that. I really like that statement about it a lot. It felt like a step back, not a regression in the sense. Like it's still really well done.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
anyone else had done it, I think I would have been like, this is really good. It's the fact that it came
after The Strangers.
Like I said, its biggest problem is going to be The Strangers forever and ever. His third film will be The Test.
Well, that might be explain why it took so long to make this movie is that he made such a statement with that first movie. But how was that movie I don't know was that movie sort of received the way that we hold it aloft other movies? Like, was it received in that way? Like, what was the critical? I don't remember like the critical sort of thing around it.
We talk about our 100th episode. Maybe it should be The Strangers.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Whoa.
We're looking at Metascore right here, 47.
For this movie?
No, for The Strangers.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, I like
an IMDb user, which I hate this rating, an IMDb user rating of 6.2.
Yeah.
I feel those numbers are all really low.
Apparently, I mean, whoever's making these rankings has never actually been scared by the idea of random randos just killing.
Yeah.
Well, it's also done well. I agree. Maybe that's an interesting choice for episode 100. We've talked about it.
We've talked about The Strangers a lot. That
I mean, I guess we call it the episode 100, the episode where we blow Brian Bertino's, ego.
Geez. I'll sit there. I have nothing. Like after The Strangers, I would sit there. I would have said all those things like the next John Carpenter.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying after the Strangers. Like that's where I hold The Strangers.
I just would like to see. I would like to see interviews about his own perception of that film, and like he's obviously not like a workman like he's not a journeyman director, because I mean it's been 6 years since.
You know what I think we do?
What?
This could be a conversation for after the podcast.
Sure.
But I think we try to get a hold of Brian Bertino.
Do it.
Let's have that conversation off.
No, let's
off
do
air.
it now. I want to tell you now.
Hey guys, sausage is made by. No.
Pressure.
If someone wants to say, hey, give me something good that's on Netflix now, I'd say you need to watch Mockingbird. Have you seen The Strangers? Of course. No. Well, it doesn't matter. Have you watched Mockingbird? It's a great film. The only problem I have is literally the last scene.
Yeah, like the last 15 seconds,
which calls into question everything you've seen.
Yeah.
But
maybe that's the point too.
Scene up to that point is really good.
Yeah.
I do think it lacks in scares though.
I can see that.
It has setups for them, but they just don't arrive. It shot too much. The lightning, the hit or miss lightning strike lighting is less to the movie's benefit than it should.
The clown laugh was terrifying.
The couple of scenes where it was pitch black and all we got were those flashes of light were done well, but I was hoping to get. I mean, you were left with that idea of that you were going to get scared, but you never did get scared.
It's more haunted house, beating on doors, beating on windows. There's still. I adored the knife hand.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
that's a great shot. But there's really no payoff from it. Like at that point, if you're going to that point, that's not terrifying her. She's not seeing that.
That's true.
What is that accomplishing if you don't go to the next step? There, like that's
I think it has to do
to me.
The same.
But I also think though that's about. Sorry, Drew. Go ahead. Or, sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
She gets the scene where she's trying to start her car, and you get the outlined figure in the background.
Shot. The mannequin drops a great jump scare. But you're right. The Michael Myers person standing outside the window is great too. But none of that is for her. It's all for us.
Right.
It's weird at this point.
But I don't think it is for us. I think it's for the people who are making it, which are the teenagers. Like I think the reason you have that is so that they can sort of like look back on it and
alert Tyler.
The people who are making it. I didn't say who it was. Did I say the teenagers?
You did say the teenagers.
Yeah. We don't know who that is. I mean,
it sounds similar. Teenagers, strangers,
the strangers. The strangers.
So I mean, if you have that, then it's. I think it's. I think that's why a lot of that's in there. If you're going to explain it, it's really, and so which makes me want to deconstruct the movie more is because they're doing this for themselves. These people, like the people doing this, are doing this for themselves and not for the benefit of the audience, which is weird.
Unfortunately, I think we're overselling. Are we done?
The intellect of this?
No. I was just saying it almost harkens back to
now because I'm about to go there.
Let's go there.
I guess go. I mean, we're at the end of the podcast. If you don't want to be ruined by what
if I haven't already ruined it,
if you watch Mockingbird without having anything else ruined, stop now.
And
come back and.
And thanks for listening, guys.
And then later.
Yeah.
We could even play the theme and then go to post.
Okay, so spoiler alert: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Those aren't teenagers.
They're kids.
They're like
those are preteens. Yeah. There's tweens, if nothing.
And one of them is the kid that
gets shot
at the beginning.
So that was a big spoiler. Hopefully you weren't still listening.
Yeah. Also, that was what called into question.
Ghosts.
Oh. That called into question the whole, like, how did you guys get the technology, the money, and the time? Who drove you around for this?
You get your parents to drive around. Hey, Mom, I just need to go to this fancy.
Mom!
Where did Leonard have to go to?
1805.
The women's restroom.
I don't know where that was.
It's like the mall or something. Hey, I need to go to the mall real quick. But it wasn't a mall. It's like a restaurant. I need to go to this fancy restaurant.
Mom, man, take me to the.
But was all that there beforehand? Because really, the only place they needed to be was at the end in the house, right?
They had to be everywhere. They had to get all that stuff everywhere.
But
had to
did they?
make
those cards?
Could they have not done that beforehand? Is what I'm saying.
But they still had to get there.
And don't forget
I'd just rather them riding their bikes all around town. Like
the
don't
day
forget
before.
They have the hand and the arm coming out of the with a knife.
they're beating. I don't know the geography of the town, but someone's at this person's house. Someone's at this house. Someone's dropping stuff off at Leonard's, then at the restaurant, which, yes, they could set it up ahead of time with those cards, sure, but they still had to get there, and they were not mobile themselves.
That was what was hard. That was what made the movie hard to kind of like to reconcile at the end.
Technically difficult it'd be like Jackson and his friends doing this.
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, I'm not taking you there. What the hell?
I mean,
No.
Jackson and Noah became psychotic and
became
made good on their potential.
I wasn't bothered by that. I'm very I'm not bothered by like the literal aspect of it. I was more bothered in the end by
we're talking about him. And look who was calling as I
okay.
Calling as we're talking about him. He heard us.
Right now.
Yeah, I wasn't as bothered by that aspect of it. I was more just disappointed in who the killers were, and like that it was. I was more disappointed in the fact that it was revealed at all. So
Totally,
I
agree
wasn't.
with you on that.
I didn't think about like, oh, how did they do this? I thought like, well, why am I interested in that? It's like, why is that an interesting reveal? That's the thing that bothered me was I wasn't interested in the reveal, so I didn't care for it.
Yeah, because it doesn't. I mean, what happened happened. It doesn't matter who had done it.
But I mean that's become the thing though. They've become the de rigueur killers though now. I mean, think back to what we watched. God, what did we just watch?
Island. There was the movie on the island. Did we do that for the podcast where the couple was on the island?
Yeah.
And then there was birthday party.
Preservation.
And preservation.
Preservation had the kid, the child.
That
killers.
just seems to be the thing now. Like this we've come full circle in Children of the Corn, I guess, kind of deal. But I don't know. It just I agree. No reveal at all in that regard would have been better. But I do like though. I will give the credit where credit is due. It was set up early. You can tell there's an early dialogue sequence. I think maybe was the message is left. I think it's where the message is left, and it says something about even adults aren't some. I mean,
yes,
this comment where it's like specifically like that's what a kid kind of would say. Like the thing like where students would sit there and say, well, teachers do this or this or this. Like it has this thing where it specifically mentions even adults aren't always right, or even adults get scared, or they're in that message. And I wish I could remember the exact.
No, but I think you have the basic tenet of it, right? Though is that, or the basic idea is that they say even adults don't always do things the right way, or blah blah blah. Like I think, yeah. In hearing it the second time, I was like, oh, I didn't say anything. Brian and I watched it together, so I noticed that. I was like, that's a clue.
Yeah,
but it's still not satisfying. Like if you set it up, even if you set it up perfectly. That's still not in my eyes, that's still not a satisfying ending for some reason.
But I think we're all in agreement then, though, because the thing is even what we're saying bothers us about it goes back to what you're saying. It makes it unsatisfying because to us, the reality of it is shattered there. It becomes like hot tension, which is so fantastic, and then you have to pretty much ignore the end to love everything that came before it, which I do.
Yeah.
Which is different than Mockingbird. I don't love everything before it, and I like it. Here, though, that ending does shatter everything else because, like Brian and I said, if you want to play it literally, then they're either riding their bikes around town or they're asking their parents to drop them off at those places so they can draw off these clown cards.
What if they're feral children?
I don't think that works in here. It's not the Citadel.
This is America.
But I agree. It's a shocking ending that's unsatisfying in the wrong way.
Yeah.
I mean, unsatisfying endings in horror movies because you don't like the Strangers has an unsatisfying ending to people because there's no reason given, and that's fantastic. I like that. Most John Carpenter's best endings are unsatisfying. The Halloween ending, The Thing, Prince of Darkness
Prince
is,
of
of course, my
Darkness,
favorite
yeah.
example of
Which you
that
did on the
unsatisfying ending.
Yeah, I
But-
agree.
But this one, it's a shocking ending that's also unsatisfying, but for the wrong reasons. It's unsatisfying because it doesn't work.
Yeah, agreed.
It's like
calls into-
it's like halt tension again, which I
It
already
calls
said,
into question everything you've
Yeah.
loved, you've really liked in the film before.
which is like, as I said earlier, what Sixth Sense does not do. It doesn't make you. It makes you rethink the rest of the movie that came before it, but not to destroy it. To be like, oh, that works. Here, it's like, that doesn't work, kind of deal.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I am a proponent for this film. I think I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was very artful and well done. I like the scares. I was actually, it's a movie that when I was done, I kind of didn't want to go to bed. Like I was kind of like, oh man, this is kind of freaking me out. Like it just made me think about the randomness of violence and the like just sort of the fleeting nature of people's motives when they do things. And if you are under the wrong impressions, then you can do things that are horrifying. And like that's
Could you imagine, like,
They become even less. That end becomes even less terrifying now. I can't even buy. Like I understand that people don't know that's who it is, but at this point, I have to imagine someone would have fought back and defeated this, cabal of evil children. Like that's the thing. Somebody just stood up to them, and
or just someone got their grown-up voice, "Hey, quit fucking around."
It's just that becomes one of those things. I fell asleep right afterwards watching it late at night, right in bed, and it was like, oh, which I could not do after The Strangers at all. I mean, I remember being terrified.
I was going to go home
when
and
I went
watch The Strangers.
I didn't even
tonight.
live in a damn house in the middle of nowhere, and I was still terrified after that movie.
It's funny though that like there's certain films that you you think of, like whenever you're moving somewhere, it's like, oh, there's a cemetery across the street. I've seen Night of the Living Dead. It's not gonna-
Poltergeist.
doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Oh, look, we don't have any neighbors around us. Have you seen The Strangers?
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen this way.
Oh, it's the suburbs. Have you seen Halloween?
Yeah. No.
Oh, it's a summer camp. Well, why the hell are you moving to a summer camp?
Exactly. We're counselors now.
Yeah. I mean, times are tough. Sometimes if you have to move to a summer camp, you have to move to a
It's
summer
all
camp.
that's available. Yeah, it's cheap.
In this economy, Drew, you move wherever the fuck will have you, right?
We're looking at a summer camp right now. Yeah.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, it's gonna get the whole thing.
Nice. Can I be a
10
counselor?
cabins.
Can I be a counselor?
I don't have to open the camp.
10 cabins, 1 bathroom.
That
As they
sounds like
are.
a really bad internet site.
It's a red tube link. If I've ever heard one.
Gross.
And here's the thing: I don't want anyone to take away that I'm in any way, shape, or form saying not to watch Mockingbird. I eagerly await There Be Monsters. I think is Brian Bertino's next movie. I eagerly await anything he does. I just, as Brian said, I wish I could flip the order of this and The Strangers, and it would sit better with me.
Maybe this is kind of a sort of a chain, like a way for him to reach a new level, or like a way of like rethinking what he did.
Level.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Because if you look at, if we take John Carpenter, even if you look at, he made, The Fog was not his next movie, but a movie about Elvis, right? Didn't he do a TV movie after Halloween before? And then he did The Fog, and The Fog, he did a TV movie to get that out of the system, but also The Fog, they had to do $1 million in reshoots because he wanted to have an essentially bloodless movie. The pirates were ostensibly not in the first cut of the movie. I couldn't imagine watching that today, what that would be like. Although I kind of want to now that we talk about it. So I don't know. This could be his way of he definitely is a contemplative director. I think that's why the ending was so problematic for me, because I was like, why did you do that? Endings are difficult, I guess, is the last 10 episodes. That's the sort of the thing we've said is endings are pretty tough to pull off, especially when something is meant to be scary.
The beginning, not so much, apparently. Beginning's easy.
Yeah.
The movies either fail in the middle or the end. They have a great beginning and a fine ending.
It's almost like they sold the movie just on the pitch alone.
Oh yeah, a first act. It's
Here's what happens.
Got a great first act.
I just think
Well, even
He's pitching you now.
the cover of this film
Is
makes
awful?
you think it's a John Wayne Gacy movie.
That has no.
Yeah, and it really doesn't have a bearing on what the most horrifying. It shows a horrifying clown, which the character in the film, Leonard, isn't horrifying at all. Also, good job, Leonard, on keeping that clown makeup on while it fucking rains.
I agreed. I thought that too. That was some really great waterproof makeup. But that's not Leonard's doing. That's the kids made a great choice in their purchase. When
On
they
their
had
Walgreens
parents take
purchase?
them to the store to buy the clown makeup, which they then sent to Leonard.
I have a specific clown face in mind, Mom.
Mom, this white isn't white enough. I need the white and red and blue.
Joe, God damn it.
I wish you had.
Let me get I need to get the hexadecimal colors to you so you get the exact right shade of blue, Mom.
I think that's a failure. He shouldn't be able to drive, or his license is suspended. He has to have his mother drive.
That would have
him.
added a great little like having to explain to his mom what he's doing each step. Like, just shut up.
Just
Mom.
give me to the next place, Bob.
I will say, as far as endings go, I'm more of the sort of 70s school of filmmaking where, like, to me, besides the sort of epilogue thing that happens at the end of the French Connection, I think the French Connection, Friedkin's endings are some of my favorites, like those early Friedkin movies. Just like an unknowing. I mean, I'm going to spoil a 40-year-old movie, but at the end of the French Connection, Popeye Doyle goes into this abandoned building and he's chasing down this guy, and you see him run into a room and fire, and you don't know what happens. I think, like with horror movies, there should be less definite endings instead of more definite endings. And like that's, if I were to make a horror movie, that's what I would really fight to do, is have an ending that is not knowable.
#ambiguity.
Yeah, like I would think
Things we mentioned earlier. Yeah, that's
it's unsettling, and it may infuriate a small segment of the population. Or the dumb one that's like, they don't even tell you who the killer is or whatever. But
So like the idea of, even to some extent, like there's some resolution at the end of 7, but not really.
What is in the box?
I mean, you get the idea of what you know what's in the box. But
no, you don't.
Box.
What's in the box?
But what
What's
the
in
fuck
the
happens
box?
after that? I mean,
Yeah.
I guess
Ernest
ostensibly-
Hemingway once said that
What happens after that? This last season of The Killing, because that's
Ostensibly-
essentially the last season of The Killing.
the everything is wrapped up, but is it? I mean, there's a whole other set of questions that open up after that scene in 7. It's like, what the fuck happens now?
I think that Ernest Hemingway once said, "The world is a fine place and worth fighting for. I believe the second part." That's the last line of the movie. Yeah, I mean,
What's that from?
7. That's the last line of 7. That's
It is,
Morgan
okay,
Freeman's.
okay.
Yeah, it's Morgan Freeman's voiceover. The ambiguity of an ending.
Do Morgan Freeman from now on.
Yeah,
The world is a fine place, and I believe it's worth fighting for.
That's good. It's the wrong line, but I like it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I believe the second part.
I mean, so why?
The second part.
I know we're sort of going long on time, but one last question I kind of want us to.
For Bertino, I'll give him that. Even with an ultimately unsuccessful, in comparison movie, I think he's that important. I do.
Yeah, I think
I think he's important.
He is definitely the next horror auteur that we need to kind of like
I agree.
give more recognition to. I mean,
But he's got to make movies at a faster rate than Malik at this point.
He's the Terrence. Yeah, you're right.
Malik of horror.
Malik's second movie wasn't that successful. I mean, after Badlands, what was the second movie? Not Days of Heaven. What's it called?
Yeah, Days of Heaven.
Days of Heaven. Yeah.
With Richard Gere, it's actually really good too. It's beautiful in the same way.
Every time the Criterion collections go on sale, I'm always like, I'm gonna buy all the Malik films, and I just never get to it because something else is out. And then I'm like, oh,
because you're also never gonna watch them.
Yeah.
Yes,
How often are you going to watch Badlands?
not once
Yeah. That's it.
distractedly,
And
and
you
then
probably won't watch Days of Heaven. You'll just have it.
I need to watch my Criterion collection version of
Thin Red Line.
Razorhead.
Oh, that's not Malik.
No, but I'm just
Yeah,
I'm
it's definitely
Criterion.
not. It's definitely David Lynch. But you're
I
right.
think of Terrence Malick's Eraserhead though.
Speaking of movies that you will disrespect by distractedly watching, you should watch Eraserhead. All right. Yeah, I definitely say watch Mockingbird. Like I highly recommend that film. Like it's definitely something to encounter for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean I do. I also say if you haven't watched The Strangers yet, watch
yourself a
Mockingbird
favor.
first and then watch The Strangers.
Yeah.
So you'll be watching
can
Brian
dig that.
Patino movies in the order they should be watched.
I agree with you. I can dig that totally.
And see growth, I think, in a weird way. and but also watch Your Next first, because it's really the next generation of home invasion. If we're going to be watching that,
It's true. Yeah, I agree with that too. So guys, thanks for listening. We're the Horrible Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at HorriblePcast, HorrorPcast. We're the Horrible Podcast everywhere else. HorrorBull podcast.com.
To find us on Ustream, we do our episodes live. So if you've listened this far and you like it, then you can see what we look like. If you want to break that wall,
yeah,
and then rate us. We want to know who's hottest.
That's right.
First, actually, send us an email to wolfmansgotnards at the Horrible Podcast. Before you look up what we look like, write down what you think we look like, and then send us that email, and then send a follow-up. That's what I want to know. Or put it all in one email, but put the description of each of this,
was,
and then ...
Fat Jason Lee.
From what movie did Jason Lee have really long hair in and a beard?
Oh, it's Almost Famous.
Yes, there you go. You just ruined this game for us, Brian.
You did.
I'm sorry.
Damn it. So, yeah, Wolfman's Got Nards at thehorriblepodcast.com. Find us on Facebook. Check out our theme song, Venomous Maximus Dream Again, from their first album. They have a new album coming out this year. Check that out.
Right.
I know.
And go see them if they ever come near you.
They're pretty great live, yeah. So
yeah, I mean, Tyler hasn't seen them as many times as Drew and I have, but we're there. Oh, actually, you and Drew are tied. I'm the one who's seen them the most.
You want to play that game now?
I'm just kidding. Tyler left us. We're still bitter about it.
We have hot sauce.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Good night.
All right.
We should use the Munsters theme here.
Yeah, man.
Boom, segue.
We're here for this.
Hey, tonight's episode, we're talking about the movie Mockingbird.
It's about the girl who is in the arena killing other kids her age.
May the odds not be in my favors.
Sorry, I had it on our logo for that, so you can do
Oh, man, fuck it. I'm not doing it again.
Oh, okay. So yeah, Mockingbird, which is about this girl. I'm just kidding.
No.
That's Mockingbird.
Yeah, Mockingbird.
Brian Bertino.
Brian Boitano's second film.
I think that
yes.
I think the context for this film is really important, like why we chose it, because it's not. I mean, I think it's like a 4.3 on IMDb, so we didn't choose it to shit on it. Like we do have a context for it. And Drew, you have a lot of stake. I don't want to call you out, but you are you were way into Brian Bertino's. I keep wanting to say Brian Boitano now. First, I think we all were, but I think you especially had a kinship with his first film. So you want to talk about like why we chose Mockingbird and like its relationship to our whatever with horror movies?
Well, yeah, I mean the two words we chose Mockingbird because of The Strangers.
Yeah,
that's really it. I mean, there's still not been any. There have been hipper and there have been more well received horror movies that have come out in the past several years that might still be of all the first run things that I've seen in theaters. Because I didn't get, obviously too young, didn't get to experience any of the the other stuff that we really love. I've seen them in theaters, but not first run. That might be the greatest, like,
yeah.
I don't know if I want to call it slasher, but it's kind of like next generation kind of slasherish kind of stuff. It might be the best horror film I've gotten to see in theaters personally. That I've just everything about it. It encapsulated everything that I want in it.
Sweet Emotions, they say the rabbit done died. At one point, I just thought that was Steven Tyler talking like Steven Tyler, just making no sense whatsoever in the 70s. But I didn't realize that was an indication of someone being pregnant. Did you guys know that?
No.
Yeah. So in this show, Californication, they always say like whenever someone gets pregnant, they say the rabbit done died, which is way out of touch with reality because no one says that. But at the same time, I didn't know that meant that someone was pregnant.
Are we sure that's what Steven Tyler meant? Or was?
Yeah, because it was a reference to a study that was done about pregnancy where they used this. I don't know, science stuff, and then
it killed. I know what you're talking. Yeah,
it was like a scientific study,
test, like maybe the pregnancy tests.
Yes,
or something like that. Yeah,
and if the rabbit died, you were pregnant. Which that's a really that would be a really morbid way of doing that if that's the way we still kept it up. Like
that's what OBGYNs did now. They're just like, well, we have this our rabbit stock's getting really low. We have a lot of pregnancies this year.
I know, or like you go out and get drunk and just have crazy sex with some rando, and then wake up and be like, oh, we have to go to the rabbit farm.
So
I didn't know that.
Idea is that is the whole thing that they injected the urine of a pregnant woman into a rabbit, and if it died, that meant
that is morbid as all get out.
I mean, shouldn't they be rewarding that rabbit for enduring the urine injection? It's more a testament to what that rabbit can do, right?
What it can endure. That's
Snopes says it's false.
Huh?
Oh,
Snopes says it's false,
but it's still something that was in the public consciousness.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Fuck you, Steven Tyler.
I know, lying.
Right? He was lying when he met you. Sorry.
That's all right. I'm glad to hear the singing back.
Is a great fucking album, Aerosmith album.
It certainly is.
And Get a Grip.
Pump's good.
Fucking great.
I started to lose. I mean, Get a Grip. That's where they start to lose.
Permanent Vacation.
They get too big.
The Aerosmith podcast.
I think we can get to
where we only know a little bit about Aerosmith.
Were we just trying to remember? Is that the? Was that?
Is that the name?
Where the album Pump is the beginning of our knowledge of Aerosmith.
Our Smithcast, where we struggle to even remember song names. we know about 17% about whatever Aerosmith topic you bring up.
The first Aerosmith album I ever got was that it had the red and white Aerosmith emblem on the front. It was like the
big
Permanent Vacation.
No, it was the greatest hits.
Big ones.
But it wasn't any of the hits.
Gotcha.
It wasn't like anything.
It wasn't the 70s hits. It was from their 80s.
Pump. So it was like Kings and Queens come together.
Gotcha.
No. Yeah, that's that one.
So. Yeah, so it wasn't anything that I really what's it? Dream On and
Sweet Emotion.
Sweet Emotion and
I had the tape.
Last Child.
I had the tape for Pump, and I remember we used to do a yearly trip. The grade I was in, whatever grade that was at that point, I don't remember now, 5th or 6th, did a yearly trip to Huntsville, and I remember listening to Pump on my Walkman on that. And when I traded off the guy who was sitting with me, a buddy of mine was sitting with me, had Great White, and we traded off Great White and Aerosmith tapes.
I had Big Ones. That's the greatest. Not the red logo one.
Big one. Yeah,
Big
that was
Ones.
one.
Big Ones is that one I had that had Whatever It Takes. Oh my God! Whenever a girl broke up with me, which was often, I listened to that song.
What It Takes.
What It Takes. Not Whatever It Takes. Yeah, What It Takes. I would listen to What It Takes a lot. Tell me what it takes to let you go.
Yeah, that was a good jam.
That song. It was.
Is that I was out of high school while all this was happening,
and I was like 8. So when I was in 4th grade and a girl broke up with me before going to the skating rink, I would sit around and listen to What It Takes. I won't get to dance to that one song.
Yeah,
that memories, man. Speaking of 1995.
Get a Grip is like the last album that I was like, I like Aerosmith, but now I'm like, did that one song Jaded with what's the girl's name who's in Jupiter Ascending? I
don't remember. Is that a thing? I didn't know that was a thing. Yeah, Jaded was fine. There was Jaded. That was 9 Lives, right? With Jaded and Hole in My Soul.
Kunis was in that video for
Falling in Love is Hard on the Knees. I actually like that song a little bit too. Pink wasn't on 9 Lives, was it?
Yeah, I think so. Wasn't it? Or was it after 9? Was that the one after 9 Lives?
Before. I think it was before that. Maybe not. Either way.
Young Lust.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
That was a hit-filled album. If that was that. If it was 9 Lives.
Remember all the Alicia Silverstone videos in the 90s for Aerosmith?
That was the Get a Grip album right there.
Yeah, that was Get a Grip. That was in my wheelhouse because that's when I sort of came of age musically. So like that, I think that was 94, so I was 12, and so I was listening to that and Weezer's Blue album. Yeah, Crying, Amazing, and
Lion. On the Edge was the first song that came out on that album because I remember it was Edward Furlong. And
I remember the video.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the trio of songs with Alicia Silverstone were Lying, Crying, and Amazing, right?
Lying?
No, crying.
See,
Wait,
crazy.
Crazy.
Crying,
Sorry,
and
crazy. Sorry, I put the CR at the
but
beginning.
the first one was crying, though, right?
Yes. I go crazy. God damn it. I want to listen to fucking
Yep,
Get a Grip
here
on
we
the way
go.
home tonight.
So wait, but I just said crying, but then you said crazy. So which one was first?
It's crying.
Yeah, okay.
It's
Yeah,
crying.
You sing crazy, that threw me off.
yes.
Okay.
And then Amazing wrapped it all up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Liv Tyler and
What was
Amazing.
the other guy? Jeremy London? Was that his name? That was in that video
well,
too?
or Jason.
Was
Or
he?
one of those
It
two.
could have been. Whichever one was abducted and forced to smoke crack.
Yeah, one of them.
We've all been there, haven't we?
So, speaking of Saturday nights, thanks everyone for listening to our Smithcast. This is our Smodcast. If I can remember my code,
We should get the new theme song when the new album comes out.
would you? Do you want to try that?
I'll do it when I'll talk to.
We should do it with episode 100. Let's just stretch out the next. What is it? May that it comes out.
Yeah.
So
Well,
2
If that
months.
new label would make it difficult.
I don't know. I can ask him. Okay, man. What about an advanced
Worth
coffee?
asking, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Can we play a song off of your new album once a week?
We're bros. Yeah. All right. Well, let's do this. I'm gonna start it over. Obviously.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Horrible Podcast. I'm Brian,
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Drew.
and look at this. Drew and I are back together in the same room again after a few.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
A thing that people have to do when
I got it
when
from
you say
Comedy
that.
Bang Bang, but it makes it impossible to not do that now.
Uh,
Or that, and it's been 1 week. How long has it been? 1 week. It's been. But yeah, so Drew and I are back in the
On
back
the
on the
old
old couch. Yeah,
You're back in the saddle again.
right.
Is that a? Can I say that?
Sure?
Is Aerosmith a reference that we can make on the podcast now? Is that?
You can make it.
You're back in the saddle again.
Speaking of Aerosmith, I just learned something. This is way off topic. I just learned something I didn't know until
We haven't
this
even
past
gotten
weekend.
on to a topic yet.
That's fine. We'll get to the topics. So I've been watching the show Californication, and in the Aerosmith song,